There are two kinds of strength that we can have in our movement that are determined by how our pelvic floor is moving. Our pelvic floor is the diamond of muscle at the base of our pelvis, and however the pelvic floor moves is the blueprint for the rest of our movement. So I did a previous video about how the movement of our pelvic floor determines how we walk. And I can look at someone and know exactly how their pelvic floor is moving by how the rest of their body is moving. So today I want to talk about these two different kinds of strength, because I think that when you are aware of these things, you can see it in other people's movement and you can feel it more in your own movement. So in the first example, let's take a big bodybuilder, a dude, some big guy who's just loaded up with muscles, right? And he can lift tremendous amounts of weight. So these guys, their movement just tickles me. I don't know why, it just makes me smile watching them move. So their pelvic floor is able to manage, they're able to manage that weight because their pelvic floor is isometrically contracted. So these are the muscle fibers. The muscle fibers glide apart and together, but they can also stay in the same position and then manage more weight. So for example, if I'm holding my arm out, here are my muscle fibers as they are, and then I add weight, and the muscle fibers didn't change length, but they managed more weight. So these bodybuilders, when they're lifting the weight, and they have tremendous amounts of weight, up here, their pelvic floor is just like roar, like handling all of that weight, and the muscle fibers are not moving. So they like that. They want that strength, but it does, of course, restrict their range. So when they're walking around, they can't lift their arm above their shoulder barely, and a lot of them, and it's not gripping. It's not like they're lacking support. They have so much support in the pelvic floor that as they're walking, it's like they just don't have much range, and their motion is so limited, and it's so funny to me to watch. But that's great. That's what they want. They should go for it. So then in another example, a ballerina, this kind of pelvic floor work with a ballerina, their muscle fibers are going apart and coming together. They're eccentrically contracting and concentrically contracting. And it's a more dynamic expression. Now, it's not going to have the strength like the bodybuilder. They can't lift that kind of weight, but they can do some really hard things that require a lot of strength, like, kicking their leg up or all of the ballet movement. This is really dynamic movement in their pelvic floor that is happening. So that is its own kind of strength.